Bueno.
Gosh, it's surprisingly good to talk to you in person instead of through a screen. It's a different feeling,
Boy, there's like a compliment buried in there somewhere. I don't know where, and I'm not going to waste the time trying to find it. But I can sense the compliment's deeply placed somewhere deep under the soil someplace. But do I look like a truffle dog? I'm not going to root out that compliment. It's not happening. I'll take my fries without the truffles, thanks. Man.
All right. Welcome to another pre-show. Gather round, everyone.
Okay, you don't really have a choice now because you see we're together in one place in the old studio. And let me tell you, had you been here a week ago, ladies and gentlemen, a week ago, your footsteps would have echoed down the empty halls. You would see little bits of paper blowing in the breeze, the dust, everything, the redolent of vanished glory. But Tumbler House teams have been working around the clock to put the old studio back in commission. And so once again, the magic will be made here as in days of yore. Isn't that neat?
It feels good. It's been so long. It's this weird new feeling combined with this old feeling. It's hard to explain because we're both in such different places. We really didn't have much of an opportunity to do it since I've been married, and so much has transpired since then.
And before. Yeah, it's been what a long strange road it's been, in the immortal words of the Grateful Dead.
Right. It's so weird to think like this has been routine, but it's weird to stop and say, we've been doing this since 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
Yeah.
And we are approaching, sometime in the near future, our 300th episode.
Yeah. This is like 292 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So 300, ladies and gentlemen. And as a special gift, our 300th episode will feature both of us speaking about events of the day and going over questions received from the audience.
Yeah. We're
going to do that as a special one-time only offer. What? Well, never mind. No, but the good news is, there is good news. I think that approaching 300, it's about as much fun as it's ever been.
I think so. Yeah, it's been really good. I was talking with Charles. It's interesting. The show has gone through such an evolution. Like the first 80 episodes, we didn't really have a shtick. I was really developing and stiff. And then we kind of got into talking about the Tumbler House Tower more.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
Well, we were willing to come forward to be open.
Yeah,
with
to
our
be
audience.
open. Exactly. Finally.
I mean, we had sort of been concealing the unique cast of characters that helped this show actually operate. Old Rose and Tyrone at security, and Lydia with the secretarial pool.
Oswald.
Yes, Oswald Dupree, my arch enemy, my evil antimatter twin.
And Chief Clancy.
Especially Chief Clancy, And all of these people and several more whom you may or may not recall and who may or may not reappear, they all of them have served to keep this place going. I wish you could have seen this morning when I came here for the first time in months, since 2022, in fact. And the guards at the gate were very respectful. The guys in the mailroom were extremely respectful. I went into the gift shop, and and you see this not just in our gift shop here, but you see it everywhere. Although this being a book company, you wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
But there used to be, in gift shops everywhere, there would be tons of books for sale. Back when people used to read. Now you would expect that in the gift shop of a publishing company. But instead, I see toasters, towels, color TV sets, uh, fly swatters, just all kinds of random stuff at the gift shop.
Well, we're trying to help the broader community. We're trying to help the broader community. And it's kind of like, as you're saying
Yeah.
as you were saying that, I thought of your restaurant in Austria, where on the menu it says assorted fish and game, or no, excuse me,
No,
assorted game.
yeah, assorted filets de gibier.
Yeah.
Assorted, meaning whatever they happen to hunt.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that. Whatever happens to come in.
Catch of the day. The catch of the day at the Dublin Tower gift shop. Whatever truck stopped too long at first at Huntington. If they slammed on the brakes too hard when the light changed. See, that's the thing. You notice that the Arcadia PD, they've always got people at the lights whenever they see a big truck come. Suddenly the thing turns red. And inevitably a few things fall off the back of the truck.
Inevitably.
It's a law of nature. No, we don't want to give the impression that Arcadia is filled with small-time hoods. Some of them are actually very big-time. But it is, though, to be honest with you, though, one of the things I love about Arcadia and why it's so great to be back in this wonderful town is that Arcadia has something none of the surrounding suburbs of LA have.
Peacocks?
Well, they have peacocks, but also they have a relatively I don't want to say corrupt because that's an invidious term, but they have
flexible.
Yeah. They have the kind of moral flexibility in government that you'd expect in a poor neighborhood, except it's not poor. Maybe that's one reason why it's not poor, but it could be the trickle-down effect. Everybody profits. Something for everybody in Arcadia. From the lookouts, the middle school kids, up and down Huntington. Oh, here comes a convoy. To the shopkeepers, even to the gas station attendants who are so helpful with passing motorists.
Yeah, it's rare to have gas station attendants in California. In fact, I don't think any other city in California has gas station attendants.
Probably not, but you'll get full service here. Check into your hood, ma'am. Oh, heavens, look. Your radiator needs to be replaced. What? Why, look, there's a leak in it. No, I don't want to give the impression that our fair city is always on the take for anything we can get our hands on. That would be unkind. It would be.
Well,
it'd be very unkind.
Yeah, that would be unkind. Yeah.
I wouldn't, maybe not unfair, but unkind. No, seriously, I love this town. I really do. And it's so wonderful to be back. It could not be less like Trumau, though.
Really? How's that?
Well, Trumau is, it's really no great shakes by Austrian standards. It's a very typical little Austrian village with a little plague column in the center of town and the 17th century church, medieval foundations, the little castle, which is where I spend a good chunk of my time. Nondescript houses. And the funny thing is that if you were to transplant it here to Southern California, people would come from miles around to gawk at it. But in Austria, it's just a little nowhere village at a crossroads.
Yeah, I believe it.
It's a strange thing. So coming back from there to here is a bit of a culture shock. I mean, you know, in Trumau, for instance, when you don't have to pay the cop at the stoplight.
Wow.
You could just drive right through. It's astonishing. Uh, no, but although to be honest with you, our town, our mayor in Trumau, and this is a true story, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, not a embroidering of the facts. We have one restaurant in Trumau, the fabulous Cafe Vest, where everybody goes because there's no place else to go. But also the food is out of this world because Herr Vest, he was trained by a former head chef
Yeah.
at one of the greatest restaurants in Vienna, the Dreihusanen. Anyway, the mayor of Trumau got into a fist fight with one of the waiters at the Vest about 4 months ago, 5 months ago.
Over
Yeah.
what?
Well, that's the funny thing. Nobody is quite certain. At least nobody's talking. Supposedly, the mayor got belligerent, and the waiter wasn't taking guff, and the result was a fist fight.
A belligerent drunk?
Yeah. Well, what they said was tired and emotional.
Okay, that's.
What?
Okay.
He had been drinking a great deal, which apparently brought out the emotion and the tiredness.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
So,
but they got into a fist fight.
so how'd that wrap up? I mean,
Well, the waiter lost his job, obviously, and the mayor was suspended by the city council for a couple of months.
wow.
Yeah.
There's no concept though of like who punches who first. I mean,
Well, there was, but the thing is, let's put it this way: each of them were dealt with by their respective authorities. In other words, if you're a restaurant, you don't want a waiter who's going to get into fisticuffs with a patron, no matter what the
I guess so.
you can't tolerate that.
Yeah.
And then contrary-wise, the city council dealt with the mayor. Whatever the case, you're the mayor of the town. You don't get into a fist fight with a waiter in a restaurant. You just don't do that. So, that was our big months-long scandal that everybody was on about.
That's pretty cool to have a. I don't know. It's cool to have a small town. I guess that it's. I say it's cool because it's a positive in that people care. Because I feel like it's a weird thing because like nobody cares locally. Like I admittedly, like I don't know a lot of the local governments around here. I mean
You just know the one.
Yeah. So.
But
it's just cool that I don't know. There is an awareness and people care on that level. But.
Well, Arcadia, or all kidding aside, Arcadia was the scene of one of my favorite stories of local caring, as it were. The late lamented Ron's Grill,
Yeah.
Which unfortunately did bite the dust, but for totally different reasons, just in the past few months, before I got back, sadly. I did go there the last time I was in town, for which I'm grateful.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rod's, at the time of our story, which is about 10 years ago now, maybe, was run by a man named Manny Romero, who had bought it from the original Rod, having worked his way up as a penniless immigrant from Mexico. He started as a dishwasher, and he ended up buying the restaurant. So it's a beautiful story that way. Well, the city of Arcadia had invoked the Supreme Court's thing, whereby if a city government can find someone who'll pay more tax money for your property than you, they could take your stuff.
Yeah.
So they were going to do that. And the sweetheart part of the deal is the guy that they were going to give it to, who was the car dealer in town. They were going to loan him the money to buy the property from them with state redevelopment funds.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. It's crooked. So what should happen? But that Manny led they really screwed with the wrong man. They really did. He led a what do you call it? A petition fight.
Yeah.
And several things occurred on the next election. One was that Arcadia took advantage of the permission given by the Supreme Court to put an article against that in the city charter. So they've opted out of that forever. Secondly, the thing itself was defeated, so the thing went on until Manny died, and then his heirs sold it, and then they weren't able to keep it going. But the three city councilmen responsible for the sweetheart deal were out of jobs.
Wow.
They were unemployed because they come up for re-election. They had to go bye-bye. Bye-bye. So that is an Arcadian story that's really on the up and up.
You know, my dentist, mayor of Alhambra. That's pretty cool. He's a good guy, Italian, paisan.
From New York. Mayor of Alhambra?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Huh. Well, it shows they're broad-minded. Most Alhambrans are not Italian, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, I don't know how that happened. That's interesting.
Well, he must be a really good networker.
Probably, yeah.
You know, a good politico. You know, you guys have put out some really good politicos, you know. Anthony Imperiali.
We got a question on him in the main episode.
Oh. Russo in Philadelphia.
LaGuardia.
Well, LaGuardia was half Italian, half Jewish, and Episcopalian. And he said Fiorello, his name, had nothing to do with St. Teresa, but referred to the little flowers of St. Francis. Mayor LaGuardia. No, I mean, I'm for Jimmy Walker. It's that simple, you know. Have your corruption up and simple. Good old Jimmy Walker. In those days, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. In those days, the city administration of the city of New York, they were a good time, is what they were.
All right, let's move on.
What? I'm waving to the nice people.
Oh, okay, good. So we had an interesting discussion. Just pre-show.
No.
I forgot what we were talking about. We were kind of talking about current events. The world's a mess. It's approaching more and more. I don't want to say breaking point. I really don't. But if something can't go on indefinitely, it will come to an end, and so we're approaching there. So
it's unsustainable.
It's unsustainable. And you had some really poignant, brilliant thoughts that I thought our patrons would enjoy about revolution and going through revolution and what that feels like and what they don't tell you. Just a different perspective.
Well, yeah. I mean, what had come up, ladies and gentlemen, was that, you know, when we read about revolutions, and it doesn't matter what kind, you know, the American, the French, the Russian, the Catholic Revolution after Vatican II, honestly, the Protestant Revolt, any of them. So whichever kind of revolution you want to talk about. Because they've already happened, and we look at them with 2020 hindsight, and we know all this, they have a feeling of inevitability, they had to work out the way they did. And everybody knew what was going on, and everybody was for it, and it wasn't wonderful. But the truth is, that's not actually how revolutions are when they happen. You don't know. If you were somebody living in 1774 or 1787 or 1913 or 1513, you would have had no idea, for the most part, unless you were one of the select few, of what was going on under your feet and the fact that your whole world was going to blow up and come crashing around your ears. You had no idea. And then, when it did happen, you'd have to live from moment to moment, trying to make the best decision from day to day with whatever information you had, which might or might not be true. Does that sound familiar? Well, it should, because, of course, we're living through such times. I mean, I myself as a boy, lived through the twin revolutions of the counterculture and the post-Vatican II era, which were not identical, but they were certainly cognate, very, very closely connected. Um, and we didn't know. We had no idea. We knew something was wrong. We knew something was up. Uh, there was change all around us, but where that was going to go, what things were going to look like, no idea. Uh, the revolutionaries usually have a pretty clear idea of where they want to go, but whether or not they actually achieve it is another story. And one of the things that history teaches, I think, is that if no revolution can completely destroy every trace of the old regime, because the very instruments of power they're trying to take over were creations of the old regime.
Right.
So that's why if you look at any of the government ministries of Europe, their websites, you'll find there's this weird dichotomy, because on the one hand they boast about and are proud of their history under the whatever older governments they had, but they've also got to pretend that the new government is the best thing that ever happened on earth, and you have this weird kind of what's the word, schizophrenic look to it. So beyond that too, I had another realization on my birthday after figuring out that my devotion to St. Michael was based on the fact, and I didn't know it at the time, but I loved St. Michael, but my birthday is his feast of the Byzantine calendar. But what was it that was attracted me to St. Michael? Well, what attracted me to him was his defending the rights of God against this horrible rebellion and this upstart Lucifer.
Yeah.
Samuel Johnson, as you know, said that Lucifer was the first Whig. Well, if that's true, then Michael was the first Tory, or if you will, counter-revolutionary.
Yeah.
And so all of this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, is important to bear in mind so that we can keep a little bit of sanity to ourselves. Thousands, really millions of people through the history of the world have seen everything they thought they knew that looked so sound collapse around them. Yeah. In religion and politics, you could be assured that when Pope Liberius condemned St. Athanasius, that was not a fun time to be a Catholic. It just wasn't. But here we are, all these centuries later. And if these are not the last days, ladies and gentlemen, then I'm willing to wager that what's going on in the church right now will pave the way for a number of doctrinal definitions, just the way the Arian, Nestorian, and Monophysite and iconoclast arguments did. And all of those, as they say, Christological heresies made, after a while, crystal clear the Orthodox teaching on the nature and personhood of Christ. And everything we write about the Mass, about devotions, everything else, actually depends upon that specific orthodoxy. And it couldn't have happened unless you had all these people martyred and otherwise abused. So, and that's one other point I think is worth making, and that is, if you look at any martyrdoms of this through the church, whether it's St. Thomas More or the martyrs of China, whatever you like, you study them carefully. Not all, most of them. They're just people living their lives. Life's going on, having a nice day. And then bit by bit, things get to be weirder and weirder. And finally, they're brought to a place where they have to make a decision. Do you retain the faith and give up your life? Or do you hold on to some semblance of that life that's already been weirdly altered and give up the faith?
Yeah. The despite all the troubles going on, I feel like I feel like the populace in San Gabriel Valley in our area getting is in a good direction.
Oh,
I really do.
Chinese?
No, I mean like in terms of the mass, going to the mass, dressing nicer. Um,
Oh, that's what
you know,
you're saying.
like Saint Therese, this Carmelite parish, they now do mass ad orientem for all the masses,
Really?
they do it in such a way. Actually, I went to what was the latest feast day? Was it All Souls?
Yeah.
I went there for All Souls, and it was the whole Latin Mass crowd there.
Huh.
Yeah, but it was the English Mass, but the Latin Mass crowd was there, and it had so many trappings. It was just in my opinion, almost a hop, skip, and a jump away.
Well, and of course, what's interesting is that this is the natural outcome of, how do I put it, of an if there's an even liturgical playing field,
Yeah,
this is what will happen.
yeah,
Now, what trash can custodians, that kind of thing, is intended to do, of course, is to stop that from happening. Because I'll give you another example along the same lines. Uh, when the indult came in back in '85, we were grateful just to have the 62 missile. Nobody ever talked about bringing back the 54.
yeah,
Nobody. That wasn't even on the horizon.
yeah,
But you see, the 54 was the result of a long organic development by people who really believed. Whereas, dare I say it, the 55, like a lot of subsequent liturgical things, were the considered product of a committee. Now, there's a difference between the two. The one really represents the sensus fidelium, and that means, of course, the people not just moving, but being moved by the faith in a given direction. So, my suspicion is that in a future pontificate, when the insanity has passed, there'll be a long, slow process of confluence. The Novus Ordo will become more like the traditional Mass. The traditional Mass itself, uh, well, more and more of the 54 will be restored simply because it makes sense. I mean, given just one little example, the octaves and the vigils that were gotten rid of. Well, okay, we've gotten rid of them. What good has it done? The answer is none.
mm.
And this true points out, I think, a major problem that we don't look at. In the 30s and 40s and 50s, the hierarchy of the church, a lot of them were aware that there was something wrong. They elected to find it in the liturgy. But the liturgy wasn't the problem. I mean, don't get me wrong, the critiques of people like Dom Garanger and all that were quite valid, but that was not the major problem in the church. The major problem in the church was the lack of belief in the church's own mission on the part of many of those who were supposed to be governing it. And that problem has been thrown in our time, whereas before it was a problem under Pius XII, but it was obscured by a lot of things. Today, it's basically being taken out. Oh, look, you see this problem? See, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Wow, that's real disbelief. Yeah. That's what that is, all right. Doesn't believe a thing, this one. Just a pile of love. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that as things change, inevitably they must, even if there are changes to the election of the papacy and so forth, which, as you know, has been bruited about recently.
Yeah.
Even if that should happen, bearing in mind also that we didn't always have a college of cardinals electing a pope. We had several popes, in fact, that were directly appointed by emperors, which, given the emperor, I think might be a good thing today. But anyway, the thing is that time will run back sooner or later. And when I say that, I don't mean that it's going to be the 50s or the 40s, not just the 19, but the 16 or the 17 or the 14. But orthodoxy with a small o will reassert itself in the faith. And we will once again, I have no doubt, in 100 years, 150, have an extremely orthodox hierarchy and body of clergy, and so very devout people. The downside is that we will probably be living into some sort of Neronian persecution. But sufficient of the days of the evil thereof. Do you remember these?
Yeah, jazz hands.
Jazz hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing that made me say that we're better off actually is coming from your family, because just hanging out with them more. Your nephew, who's really juiced in, and obviously your brother. But they're telling me that there's a lot more money coming from the traditionalist segment, and so that in turn gets more power.
Eventually, I mean, the problem is at the moment, a lot of the church hierarchy don't care about the church going bankrupt, and there's nothing you can do about someone like that.
How can that be?
Because, like any, all right.
If only, even if you're a selfish person, because I'll never forget this. One of the people who brought the mask back earliest after COVID was actually your buddy Supich.
Yeah.
And you could make the case. I'm not going to try to be mind reader, but he could see that.
You can see the old do re mi.
Exactly.
You ain't got to get money if you don't give nothing. No, it's true, and nothing to me was more annoying than seeing the websites of parishes I knew with their make a perfect act of contrition, make a spiritual communion, donate here. Guess which one of those three weren't going to be done?
Yeah, the third one.
Ooh. So, but the thing is that there are people in the church today for whom ideology is more important than money. I mean, Seepage also showed when he got beaten up by a bunch of wealthy supporters of the Institute of Christ the King. Remember, he was going to shut their church down when it burned. And a number of his major donors helped him with his issues. So he decided to change his mind. Now, there's a man who, he understands faith walks and money talks. But you take somebody like the African Queen in Washington, Cardinal Gregory. He's...
you can't buy him.
You can't buy him. You can't buy that man. He's on his way down the river, You can't buy him to change course. No way, Jose. What's kind of funny, those who are conspiratorial minded have figured that he wants to see old St. Mary's close so he can sell the property. But the problem with that, if that's true, is that if Old St. Mary's should ever cease to be a place for Catholic worship, the property reverts to the Protestant heirs of the family that initially donated it. Dollars to donuts. His elegance was not aware of that.
Wow.
So you go ahead. You shut it down.
Wow.
Sometimes being stupid isn't smart. Isn't that happy making?
All right, let's do some questions. We just, it's a pre-show. We typically, Charles is on a roll, but we're going to do a handful of questions here. From John. He says, what role did Catholicism play in the four great awakenings in America?
Not much. You got to bear in mind that the four great awakenings were movements amongst Protestants in our country. The first great awakening was under, was in the 1700s, people like Jonathan Edwards and George Whitefield, and even John Wesley played a role. They had a second great awakening in the 18-teens. The third was in the 1840s, I think.
That's like Emerson.
Well, Emerson was at the same time, but those are the Transcendentalists.
Okay.
The Awakening was definitely a Protestant, full of fervor, rolling on the floor, come to Jesus kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tent revivals. And then the fourth, I think, was in the early 20th century. Yeah. So, but these revivals were Protestant phenomena.
So are we due for another one? It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been. It has been. I would not be surprised. I mean, to some degree, the Jesus movement of the 60s resembled it slightly, but it didn't last long. And it came and went. But I think we could do with a revival in this country. The Holy Ghost is moving over the land, choosing who will be the vessels of that new revival. And you and I, ladies and gentlemen, are going to see the power rain down from heaven upon the Lord's anointed. The glory is going to rain down on us all.
That sounds nice.
You like that?
Yeah.
You just wait, ladies and gentlemen. If I ever open a church of my own, I know what I'm going to call it.
The church of your choosing?
The church of your choice.
The church of your choice.
That's right, because I'll have free advertising all over the country in those Saturday religion columns, and they give a list of the churches in your community, and they say, worship at the church of your choice at the very top. And there will be the church of your choice. Religion the way you want it to be. All the fervor of a tent revival, all of the non-specificity of the New Age.
Beautiful.
Doesn't that sound good?
Yeah.
Criswell had a phony church.
Did he? What do you call it?
Are you ready?
Ready.
The Church of the Inner Voice.
The Inner Voice?
Yeah, isn't that great?
How did that work?
I don't know. I have no idea. All I know is the name. Yeah, he was out of the religion business when I know him.
Okay. The
Hallelujah.
religion business.
What? It's true.
I gotta get into that religion business.
Yeah, I got to buy my way in. Give me what you call a church. Throw us some Vespers, He actually, there was an advertisement for him in the Long Beach paper in the 50s. There's this, the Chateau Riviera or something, is this historic apartment complex in Long Beach. And it's very compact, very tall, very beautiful. But one or more rooms of it, or apartments or whatever, was denoted as the Chapel in the Sky. And there are advertisements for Criswell leading Vespers at the Chapel in the Sky.
Wow.
I can only wonder what those Vespers consisted of.
All right. I know Charles hates the term fascist. Would the word ultranationalist be better?
It depends on the group. I mean, I like specifics. Certainly, most varieties of fascism that we know have used nationalism, but I think you couldn't really call every kind of ultranationalist a fascist. So it words.
Yeah.
You got to get your words worth, as Coleridge said.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the recent attacks on the legacy of Mother Teresa?
Garbage again. Mother Teresa, God rest her, which she did, since she's a saint. Mother Teresa was worth 5,000 easily of any of her detractors. Because you know what? She really did stuff. My dislike of the whole weenie thing.
Yeah.
Well, weenies are like, you invent a method of feeding hundreds of thousands of starving people across the globe.
Yeah.
Yeah. There wasn't enough variety of taste in that food. Excuse me, they were starving. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
And at which point you turn around and say, well, I get it, Mr. Caring. What have you done? Well, I know good food. I wouldn't touch any of the stuff that the Franchitti Feed 'em All Foundation provides. I wouldn't touch that garbage. Not with a 10-foot pole. Well, it's nutritional. Well, yeah, but it tastes like garbage. I hate it. Yeah, but there are now thousands, if not millions, alive thanks to the Frankini Feed 'em All Foundation, who would be dead of starvation without that stuff. Yeah, probably probably deserve it. They would no decent tasting meal if they had one.
Hmm.
What do you do with that kind of person?
Not talk to that person anymore?
Yeah, and ignore him when you can.
Yeah. Okay, that's it for the pre-show, guys. It's been a nice long pre-show. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. He's in fine form, isn't he? He clearly has recovered.
I couldn't help myself. It's still Halloween season, ladies and gentlemen. And if I can't creep you out a little bit, what good is mom and apple pie?
All right, stay tuned for the full episode.
We'll be there, and you be there too.